All right, awesome. We're live. Okay, so I want to kick this things by a lot quicker today. There are two more parts relating to the first part of this kind of like prep session. One is to write an average salaries method, and the other is to write a group by department method, which need to do the relevant bits. And I figured to do them both in one session, and then kind of just bring this thing home and kind of finish this exercise off so that we can continue with the preparation and get the next batch of kind of preparation exercises. So here we go. All right. So we need to write two functions. An average salaries function, which given a key value set of first names and salary numbers, returns the average salary. So we've got sample data, which will be the same as the previous function we wrote, which was the highest paid function. And then we've got the group by department function. Given an array containing name and office, return an array where all names are grouped by office. Okay, cool. I don't think I've worked with anything remotely close to group by with collection yet, so that should be pretty cool. I imagine there'll be an average salary for the data, and this should be relatively easy because we could probably just call back just the individual string and it'll give us the data that we need. Okay, but test-driven development, got to write a failing test first. Okay, so into it, we've got our test class that we're going to be extending. So we're going to be doing public function test, and then the first function's name is average salaries. Interesting, it returns a float. Okay, test average salaries. And open that up, and then we're going to do this dot assert equals 1400. Interesting, it says that it's going to be expecting a float, right? So we've got the float over there, but we've got an integer over here. So I'm going to have to go with a type in because that'll block the execution, and I am going to make the expected output 1400. Okay, cool. Gotcha. Okay, so 1400 should be equal to result 1, and then essentially we can make use of this sample over here. Okay, good. Now I'm wondering, because we are reusing this, we can actually declare this in a setup method to have access to it over and over again. But I'm going to forego that and not do so right now. So here we go, salary group, and so essentially salary group, which will collection service, and then we will be doing the function name was average salaries, which should take salary group. There we go. The return result will store to result 1 equals collection service. There we go. That should give us our first failing test. Okay, let's hit that one up. And there is no such method. Perfect. All right, so let's get in there. I'm going to be extending this service. Public function average salaries. Was it average salaries or average salaries? Plural. Okay, got it. Which will accept an array of salaries, and it needs to return a float. Gotcha. And so essentially we're expecting it to return 1400.00. There we go. So that should make our test pass. So let's hit that up. Oh, it does not. Undefined constant test features this. Oh, let's just get back to that. I think I might have made a mistake. Oh, there we go. This dot assert equals, which just needs a $sign. There we go. Back to our CLI. Perfect, passes, but obviously we're cheating it because we know what the output is that it is expecting. So let us make this dynamic. So now Now, in a similar vein, we're going to expect 1,400. Let's just quickly check if that is the case. So here's a little calculator. So look, sometimes you're going to have to calculate your test data offline in a manual way to see whether it's correct. So we've got 1,000 plus 650 plus 2,550. There are three values. If you divide that, there you go. So indeed, our test data will return an average of 1,400 because there are three values. Cool. So let us then do result2 equals, and before we do that, we'll be appending one more item to it, salary group, and this one will be name. Throw myself in there, and salary, and let's make it like, let's do it 700 rand. Well, 700 currency, that's okay. So we previously had 4,200 plus 700, and now we've got four values, so the new average is 1,225. 1,225. Gotcha. Result 2 should be 1,225. There we go. Let's just close the method name. Perfect. Let's give that a go. And fails. Alright. Fails at the second assertion because obviously it can't dynamically determine it, which means we now get to write the minimum code to get this to pass, which I believe will be the entire code. Alright, so I know that there's an average, so let's do salary collection equals collect to form a collection from the salaries array. Gotcha. And once we've got that, we can essentially return salary collection, oopsie daisy, salary collection average expects a callback. So we'll be doing salary, and we also need to cast this to a float because otherwise it might return an integer, unless of course the average method returns a float by default. Let's actually go and check that, right? Laravel collections, because that might be like a little gotcha. Is that the, so let's do average there. Oh, second method in the list. The average method returns the average value of a given key. It does not, it looks, well, from the documentation it looks like it will return the same type that it needs, so it's most likely going to return an integer, which means we've got to cast it to a float to get it to pass. Okay, so let us get that. We're actually going to inline that return. Let's do it like this, right? And then I believe it's called float value is the default. That should do the trick. So why do you not like me over here? Expected semicolon. Yes, so like that. There we go. Let's test that one out. Clear it. And there you go. Problem solved. Record time. Okay, so interesting though. I'm just curious to know whether, I just want to quickly die and dump this out because I got a suspicion it only returns a float if it calculates that there is a float. I just really want to check this for myself. So I'm expecting an integer. Yeah, and it returned an integer. So if we didn't cast it to float, the questionnaire would have failed, or at least the type hinting would have caught it over yonder. Which then begs the question, it returns mixed types, which I think if we look at the average, yeah, it can return mixed types. So in other words, they've written this most likely in the background to, let's see, can we actually look at this? Value retriever is now it takes the sum divided by count. Okay, and I guess that further handles it whether it needs to be churned out as an integer or as a float. But other ways, we're casting it to float value, so we're making sure, and our test passed. Excellent. On to the last question, group by department. So we're going to be given an array of users, and we need to return an array. So given a set of arrays containing name and office, return a single array where all names are grouped by office. Interesting. Okay, so there will most likely be a group by function, but let's first start by group by department, testing the underlying function. All right, public function test group by department. Got you over here. Then we're going to do return this dot assert equals. So we'll have an expected array 1, and we'll have a result 1 that we will try and assert, and for that we will need to call the relevant method. So there we're getting our collection service, so it is group by department. Alright, just gonna call that over there and call this to do departments, and then departments is going to be equal to an array with I think we had 3 in there originally, so let's do that to see what the data is like. So it's name, we've got Jim, Bob, Sam and Fred. So Jim, Bob, Sam and Fred, which means there are 4 people, so let's add a 4th space holder. And we're going to do this like so. So we're going to do name, which is going to be a string. Then we're going to do department. It's also going to be a string. Okay, perfect. So we got that nice and set up. Multi-line cursor, really effective text processing technique when you're doing this kind of thing. So Jim, Bob, Sam, Fred. Jim, Bob, Sam, Fred. Okay, there we go. We've got north, south, north and west. North, south, north and west. Perfect. We're going to drop the departments in there. This should give us result 1. So there we go. Perfect, result 1, and then the expected array 1. We're going to expect it to give us an array that takes the shape of, there are 3 departments, so we're expecting 3 arrays, which should give us north, south, west. Let's do north, south and west. North has to have an array of names in it, so everybody that's in north. So we've got Jim, and we've got Sam. Oops, outside the array, so like that. So here we've got in the south, we've got Bob, and well, I must have been with say Bob, and in the west we've got Fred. So that is the expected array that we're expecting to get back, except not quite. These won't be arrays, they will just be a collection of key value pairs, like so. Okay, there we go. I think we've got our first failing test. Yep, function does not exist. And in fact, let's just, because we know we're going to be expecting this return. So let's set up our collection service. So we got public function. I think it's called group by department. Function group by department, which accepts an array, departments, and returns an array. So there we go. Both our content pieces type hinted. We're going to return just this array. So in other words, that should be the minimum amount of code to get this to pass, which it does. Fantastic, but obviously we're cheating it right now. So we need to make this dynamic, which means we need to add an additional department. So here we go. And we're going to be adding a new department to it called. So we're going to be having, I guess, the name. And then I'm going to throw myself in there. I am going to be department. I will be in the north, south, west. I will be in the east department. I think east. I think we had capital letters up here. Yes, we do. Perfect. Which then basically means we need to call it this on ourselves. We're also going to have to expect a different array. So we can pull these two things down. So result 2, an expected array 2, and then ultimately what we are now going to have is east, and then have it as Jonathan. Perfect. Looking at this, unreachable statement. Yeah, cool. We don't want a return statement over there. Let's just clean that up, and when we drop down here, this will be our second assertion, so we'll just do that. Perfect. There's our next failing test, which will force us to make the function dynamic. Okay, there we go. It has an issue. Alrighty then. Okay, so I want to hit the docs because I don't really know this method, but there should be like a group by. Oh wow, it's right after the get method. So group by. The group by method groups the collection items by a given key. So account ID. Instead of passing a string key, you may pass a callback. Callback should return the value you want. Okay, but for our simplistic example over here, we should just need to pass it the key because we've also got a flat-ish array structure like that got over here. So group by method, perfect. So got you over there. So first things first, departments collection equals to collect. We're going to be collecting the departments. Okay, perfect. Then we're going to do departments collection, which we're going to group by, and it'll be department. There we go. We know what the return type is like. Group by, groups given. Looking at what it returns. It returns an array. It looks like it already doesn't return a collection. Interesting, which means we should just be able to return that value. Cool. Let's give that a test. Okay. It doesn't like this. Return value is expected to be an array. A collection is returned. Okay, so all we need to do is toArray, which is another helper method on collections, which you can chain because collections we can chain, which then basically casts the collection to an array. Alrighty then, let's give this a test. Clear? Oh, interesting. Okay, so it's north. So the first assertion passed. Oh no, the first assertion did not pass. Is a blank array. Interesting. Alright, so I guess I'm curious to see what this actually does return. If we do to array, what do you actually tell us? So let us clear the CLI. I see. Right, what did I did I yeah, that's really interesting. It looks like it didn't actually do the group by. It just left it like that. So should I maybe do something like this to actually get it to render out the first portion? So then maybe it's because I set the key to uppercase and it should be lowercase. Other case, I am interested to see what the output of this function is. So important, the keys are case sensitive, which makes sense. Clear. Okay, so they are. So we've got west, we've got south. Wow, that's interesting. Did I maybe build my input arrays incorrectly? Let's have a look at this. So I'm looking at that. No, that is how they're meant to be built. Okay, interesting. Which means if we go back to the docs and we have a look at how they built theirs. Right, very similar. Also a grouped all. I can't think that that's the reason. Looking at this, oh, look at that. It still gives you the full Monty, but we're not meant to get the full Monty back. Alrighty then. Which means we probably need to delve a bit deeper into this. So instead of passing a string key, you may pass a callback. The callback should return the value you wish to key the group by. Interesting. So we've got that. Multiple grouping criteria may be passed as an array. Each element will be applied. So we're looking at this. Yeah, looking at that. This is interesting. So basically, good. I mean, good. Like we've got expected output. Okay, so great. This one isn't as easy as it seemed. But we do have the group by activated. But what the group by gives us, and let's just maybe just dump the to array first. Let's just have a look at it from a collection perspective. Clear. So it does get us the upper edge, but it only lets us know, but it still gives us the full array, which we don't want. So now the question is, how do we do that? Again, I'm not going to try and do it within the group by statement, because I'm looking at the kind of like the uses of the group by statement, and it doesn't seem like they've got that necessarily. So what we could do is we could iterate over it and tell it to just to only have those values in as the values that we're looking for. But I'm wondering if there isn't a helper method that could do this. So we've got combine, collab, chunk. Because if we look at the structure that this is in, we basically just need to drop. We need to drop department and north. We need to drop names so that we've just got those values. Wow. Okay, so off the top of my head, I think I'm going to iterate over it. So let us then cut that out, kick that away. This is the departments grouped. Alright, so what we are going to do over here is for each department grouped as department. Okay, I'm going to go into this one. No, statement is inventory. Fine, we're going to be working on you. Alright, so that gives us the relevant item, which is also interesting because how are we going to do this? I know how to work with this in arrays, but I'm wondering now with collections. And you've got the group by. What does the reduce function do? Okay. Probably not the reduce method. If I maybe should. Let's see. What else do we have? Average chunk. Chunking is when it splits it up. Yeah. The chunk method breaks collections into multiple smaller collections of a given size. Yep. Let's see, what else do we have? Contains straight count, cross join. Doesn't contain, dump duplicates, each spread. Every except filter, flatten. I don't think flatten will help us. I think because what I probably want to do is I want to drop the maybe I should just spend a few more seconds with the group by function. So we've got the group by. We've got, so this is the base one. But what we can do is tell it what it needs to return. But then it'll return the item account ID -3. I'm wondering, can I, because that's fine. But then could we set this equal to just the name? Well, let's give it a go. Okay, cool. So we're going to be doing group by, but this time we're going to be doing a closure or an anonymous function. Value and key. Gotcha. And then we're going to be doing return value. Needs to be equal to key, which is, I think, value, which is name. And then if I recall correctly, looking at this, you've got to give it the item you want it to filter on, which is value, which should be department. And so this, I don't think that's going to work actually. It's almost just like a filter again. So we're going to back in this crunch. Expected semicolon, unless we do this. And clear it up like that. Alright, well, let's just give it a test and see what happens. Yeah, a function will return type must return a value. Oh, right, okay, so let's just give it an empty array so that doesn't complain. And try it again. Okay, not quite. So we changed it around. So what if we made you name and we made you department? Just experimenting. See if I can pick something up here. Not quite. Because what we've got over here is we've got two items. And we just want to filter for name. We just want to filter for the value. I'm wondering. Because if we just did this, right? We just asked it for the department value. That would give us the same kind of collection returned, which it does, yeah? And so when we look at what they're doing over here, is they're doing substring. Yes. Interesting. Multiple group bys. I don't think there's a way to get this right, unless I'm wrong and I'm shown how to do it later. So at least over here we do have it grouped by each item, which means at this stage, do I want to do? So I want to do a. Because we should be able to. Maybe we're just meant to use several helper methods. Right. Cool. We can make use of the implode function. Then the implode method joins items in a collection. It aggregates depending on the type of item in the collection. If the collection contains arrays of objects, you should pass the key. Then we're going to try this. Because look, this actually ignored the account IDs. So then what we could do is we could do something like, but now I'm also wondering, I'm just curious, I want to see what happens if I actually do departments grouped implode, and then we're going to implode on name. Just curious to see what that actually does. So let's do that. Clear. Nothing got imploded. Cool. So for each departments grouped as department, and we will be doing that. We will be doing department, which we will do implode. Hang on, it's an array, right? So it won't have the ability to do implosion. And if we look at the question, they just need to be split by comma. Alright, that should be interesting. So first things first, we're gonna collect the department. Right, and off of that we're gonna be calling implode. See, that is actually outside. Implode. Reading name, and implode me with a comma. So let's just actually see what that is like during the first round. Yeah, expected syntax. I probably forgot a colon or something. That closes it, and that closes it, and this I'm actually just going to comment out because I think that's causing more issues than anything else. Undefined variable department. Not quite. Wow, I misspelled that. Department. Gotcha. And that we should be able to observe. Let's see what it does. German Sam. Okay, cool. We're getting somewhere. So essentially what we need is thinking about this. Thinking about it, because if we were to just die and dump the department, then that'll actually give us the collection without the key, yeah? Yeah, it does. And if we do department and department name, something like what, like this. Let's just put those around, because I think it's going to have to be like this. And then I want to die and dump the department name. North, beautiful. Because then what we can do is we can do department grouped $dep name, and we can do equals to that. It does not like this unreachable statement. All right, okay, cool, gotcha. Curious. I think this is maybe a little bit over engineering. And so let's not die and dump over here. Let us die and dump the departments grouped. Expecting it to set that key. So now we've got north, and then down here we've got north and. So maybe we should just declare a new collection. So just output equals collect. Just collect a blank string, and then we'll do output. Basically, output this is like that. And so what we should be ending up with was probably not the cleanest solution either. But what we should end up with now, at least if we drop output, is probably what we expected to find in the first place. So let's have a look and see. Yeah, there we got it. And so we need to drop output to array, because ultimately we're going to expect an array to get back there. Does not like that. Output to array. Did I just mess it up somehow? So let me not do that. Let's drop this again. Interesting. So did I not have this thing sorted? Should this maybe be something like this maybe? See what that does. Yeah, property north does not exist for this collection instance. That's fine. Alright, and then if we try this again, it does not like that. It does not actually add it to the collection. That is interesting. Making use of the implode a bit, trying that out. And so then let's do. I'm gonna try and figure out why I didn't want to add it. I don't think it was save. I think it was save, add, extending collections. That's the macro arguments, pad, prepend. I can't think that it's that. It'll probably be something like append push. So I mean, we could, I guess, output push and then do something like that. Let's see if that maybe just resolves it. Seems like it's not adding the items. Okay, so there we got it. I got you over there, and I don't think we can put you guys into arrays. I don't think that'll work either, but just giving it a go. Yeah, so now we've just got an array, but we don't have the key of the thing equal to. That is an interesting thing. So what I wanna try and see is actually figure this out. Like, I would think that would have added this to items where the key is north, but it just doesn't. It just doesn't want to do that. So I mean, if we just don't collect an array, what does it do then? It does not. So this is interesting. This is interesting. So I actually want to figure this out. So what would we do here? We would say adding items to Laravel array does not add them to items. Adding element in an array does not work. Accept all cookies. This is in Laravel, add item to array. Adding items to Laravel, collection does not add them to items. Item push. Here you have everything correct according to Laravel docs, but you have a typo. So they are using push. The push method appends an item to the end of the collection. Also want to think the actual method you're looking for is put. Put method sets the given key and value in the collection. Okay, let's see. Yeah, okay, that makes sense. So in other words, we will do output PUT. There we go, wrapped it there. And then the first part is actually just the department name, and the second part is this little boy out there. Let's give that a go. So you need to use put. Okay, and can't just assign them the way we did. Okay, that's interesting. That's good to know. So there we got that. Then essentially from here we should be able to head it up to go to array. Bang. And gotcha. There we go, except that this value should actually be wrapped in an array. So let's do that. That should give us a little bit closer to what it wants. Yeah, we got that. Perfect, which means at this stage, this is basically what we need to return to get that our test to pass. Okay, interesting. Let's give this a go. See what the test thinks. Computer says no. Okay, so expected Jim got Sam. Oh, actual was Jim Sam. Wow, that is interesting. Okay, so let's just see how this works, because it did not quite go the way I planned. So we'll do two. Oopsie daisy. To array. Quite surprised. I did Jim and Sam as north, and it was expecting Jim Sam. So should I just not have collected it at the end over here? And if we do this, oopsie daisy, no, that's where we were just now. So let's have a look at our CLI. Okay, But I can't see returning that. Did that work? Because ultimately it's expecting those values in an array. Yeah, expected an array, where the previous one, oh dear, because we put you to an array, and then when we call that, oh wow, okay, all right, that is interesting. Thinking about this, because that implodes it. So unless we needed to just, oh, hang on. Jim and Sam. Yeah, so they should be two values in an array. Did I maybe set up my testing method incorrectly? No, there you go. North should have Jim and Sam in the array. North had Jim and Sam. I understand why that broke. But this one breaking, Jim and Sam. No, not quite. So then that has to work like so. How did it expect? I mean, isn't that position 0 and position 1? And yet it's saying expected array and then results. Wow, this is interesting. Back to the terminal. So we gave it north array 0 Jim 1 Sam, and it says it's expecting. So let's actually look at this. Look at the structure of the array. Maybe that's where the issue is. Ah, yes. Not like that. So we are actually not. Because if we do this and that, then we're okay. Okay, yes. So if I'm understanding this correctly, then the implode. Let's have a look at implode. Implode method joins item collection. Depends on the type of items the collection. If the collection contains arrays or objects, you should pass the key attribute you wish to join and the glue. So this and glue string you wish to place between the values. So implode creates a string 100%. So let's do PHP create array of CSV string. Done this once or twice before, it's quite cool. String get CSV I think might be the method. Just quickly have a look at that. Passes a CSV string into an array. So string separator, oh that's perfect. str gets CSV, I love it. So basically we can then throw that away and we can say str get CSV, which is the string that's returned by that helper, and then we're going to use a comma, and I think that should do it. That should do it. So let's actually just quickly see what the output is. Perfect. Now we've got Jim and Sam as two values in the array. Happy days. So let's comment out, or let's actually drop this down dump for the piece of resistance. Let's see what this does. Oh yeah, passes. Okay, hectic. Interesting. So implode returns a string. That's something I did not know. Well, I actually didn't know about the implode function so much, which is quite cool. And from there, you could theoretically then get it back into an array if you needed to, for whatever reason. We've figured out today that you need to do puts. You can't just assign unknown keys to a collection. It won't actually add it to the items array of the collection. And that is awesome. Wow, what a session. Okay, 50 minutes. I'm going to stop there. If you're still watching, thanks so much. Yeah, cool. And I hope to see you again soon. Thanks.